So the Steam Deck runs Linux, which means not every game is going to run well. And that's why Valve has a system in place that will tell you what the rating of the game is and how well it's going to run on the actual console. So for today's video, we're going to test 15 unsupported games and see how well they play. First game is going to be Batman Arkham Asylum, so let's stop wasting time and jump right into it. Alright, Batman Arkham Asylum. I had to go ahead and start a new save, because once you beat the game, you're in free roam and it's kind of hard to find enemies. Makes it less exciting. Alright, we've got an enemy down there.
He'll see me coming on the ground. So
let's go up top. Yeah. Batman style. Let's get a flank going. And strike from behind. Boom, baby. Knocked out for good.
Put this animal back in his cell.
Yo, I think he's dead, dude. His cell won't be needed.
Oracle, I'm here.
I smacked his head into the ground. But yeah, look at this, guys. It's playing just fine. We do get a couple stutters here and there, but it's kind of rare. And we're playing the game at the max settings. I did forget to say that. It's 800p at the max settings, no FSR. And yeah, it's playing just fine at 60 FPS. Okay, now one thing about this game is that you have to use a custom Proton. For this video, I'm using Proton GE. If you use a default Proton, like the one that Steam chooses for you, or experimental, the game will crash after the client. So yeah, if you just go on YouTube, there'll be plenty of videos on how to get Proton GE running on the Steam Deck. It's very easy. It's an app you gotta get on the App Store. And yeah, so it makes sense why Steam would say it's not supported, but it takes like 5 minutes and the game will start working, so not really a big deal. And if you like the game, then now you know, the game is playable and runs just fine at 60 FPS. Okay, let's move on to our second game and see how we do there. For our second game, we're playing NFS Unbound at 800p with a mix of medium and low settings, using FSR as well to give us an extra FPS boost. Not sure why this game is unsupported now. I believe it was playable when it came out, but now it's set to unsupported. It could be due to the EA launcher, because it does break here and there after every update, so that could be why, but still the game plays fine and you can get 30 to 40 FPS with ease. It's actually almost in the 50s now, but yeah, it's a great experience. I would cap the FPS for this game to 30 ideally, because it can fall into the low 30s. And to avoid any of the stutters, just use an FPS cap. Let's go to a race and see how we do there. I want to do one in the city because it's the most intensive on the CPU. And that's what we can do. It's a B race. Not a big fan of the B cars. It'll be a slow race, but whatever. Let's go there now. This game looks absolutely gorgeous. And it's doing much better now than it was before, to be honest. When it came out in the city, I was getting like 30 FPS on average. Now we're sitting in the mid-40s pretty much. We do obviously fall down still, but overall, it's a much better experience than it was at release. Alright, doing a race, which will be more intensive, and we are in the city as well, which is harder for the Steam Deck. Driving the Civic, but look at that. It's playing just fine, the game's not stuttering, and the graphics look amazing as well. Now again, use a 30 FPS cap to have the most stable experience possible, but if you don't want to, then I guess you can play at 40 and 50 FPS with occasional dips to the 30s. We're losing to a G-Wagon, guys. That's embarrassing. Come on, come back here. And we got cops. We got cops. Nope. Alright, we're overtaking their clips. Sit down. Right turn here. Yeah. Fun experience. I'm having a good time playing this game. And it's a next-gen game as well. With our first game, which was Batman, that was a PS3 title. This one's a truly next-gen game. And the Steam Deck can still handle it. Alright, we can't get first place, I'm too slow. Let's move on to our third game. And our next game will be Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands. It's an older game, but it's unsupported apparently. But whoa, the camera's kind of messed up with the right joystick. That's an issue straight away. We gotta use the trackpads, I think. Yep. We gotta use the trackpads. Not a big deal though, but it's an issue to keep in mind. And again, it's an older game, so FPS wise, it's doing just fine in the max settings. Sitting at 150 to 170 FPS. Come on, let's go. We've got some fighting going on. I think my main issue with this game is the controls. I think it's best to take some time and go through the settings and make sure the settings are right for you, or the controls are right for you. Because I'm just playing, I guess, live, and some of the controls don't make any sense. It's kind of annoying. But gameplay wise, playing just fine. It's not stuttering or lagging. Again, using FPS cap with all these games, it's not really worth playing at 200 FPS for a single player game. You're just wasting your battery life, and the Steam Deck will just get hot. So yeah, that's Prince of Persia. Let's move on to our next game. Alright, for our next game, we're playing Sunset Overdrive. I believe this game was a launch title for the Xbox One, but I could be wrong there. So far the game is running fine, but the game did have some issues starting up. For example, it says that the save is corrupted, but reading online, it's only a visual glitch, or I guess a visual issue. The game does save normally, or just say that it's corrupted. And starting up, there'll be a pop-up saying that the system requirements aren't good enough, I think. And that's also a small issue, but you can just skip past it as well. But yeah, gameplay-wise, it's playing just fine. The game's not stuttering or lagging. The FPS does fall down into the 40s in those heavier scenes, but on average, we're sitting in the 50s and 60s just fine. Now, I think ideally playing with a 30 FPS cap or even a 40 FPS cap is the way to go for this game. We can just lower the settings when you get 60 FPS. Time for Rage 2. This game is also unsupported, and you will need to use Proton Experimental for it to start. I've tried a couple other ones, and the game will just crash on launch, but Experimental, it's playing just fine right now. But some people have said that the game will have glitches and issues along the way, so keep that in mind. But actually playing the game, it's been doing pretty good. And for the settings, I'm playing at 800p with the medium preset. Okay, here we go. Nice strong aim assist, I like it. Heal up. This game looks gorgeous too. And the performance is doing pretty good as well, sitting in the 50s up into the 60s. This is the intro of the game though, so the FPS will fall below this obviously. Oh, the shooting feels good. Satisfying shooting. It feels like Killzone, to be honest. I kind of like that. Wow, the shooting feels really nice. Personally, haven't played any of the Rage games. I think I had the first game on the iPod Touch. Now, obviously, it wasn't an actual port of the main game. It was a phone game. But still, it was really fun. I remember playing it. The shooting is really good, though. This is so meaty. Alright, our next game will be Just Cause 2. I've been playing the game at 800p at the high settings. Now this game was a bit of a pain to get going. Took me like a few restarts to even get it started. And I'm using a custom, I guess, launch option as well, which I'll put on the screen for you guys to see. For the Proton version, I'm using Proton GE. The other ones didn't really work. So yeah, this game is playable, but it's a pain to get going. It is a pain. But once you get it going, smooth sailing from there. The game is playing just fine, it's not stuttering or lagging, and the controller works as well. What key is the phone again? Is it up on the D-pad? No, is it down on the D-pad? Yeah, it is. There we go, the black market. That's what I like. Let's buy the plane. I would literally spend all my time in the airport, spawning in the boats, and then using the hook to attach them to the plane. Woo, let's go. Pull up, what? Okay, well, for our next game, we're playing The Witcher 2, and playing at the highest settings at 800p. Now for this game, it's a bit tricky, it's kind of inconsistent. I've had some errors on launch, but you can skip past them and the game will still start. Another thing, you want to go into the settings and enable the controller. For some reason, it'll choose the keyboard and mouse as its default, I guess, option. And you'll spawn in and you won't be able to move at all. And for the Proton version, I'm using experimental as well. Some have said that the game has crashed for them in some quests, so keep that in mind as well. But like overall, the gameplay experience is quite good. Here we go, we get to fight now. Finally got some action. FPS is falling to the 50s here, but overall, pretty good performance. I'm not seeing any graphical issues or any major hiccups. The starting point, or the intro, is normally the hardest point with these games. Once you get it going, it'll play just fine. Time for Far Cry 5, and we're playing the game at 800p at the high settings. So I received a comment about how this game is broken again, and it doesn't work anymore on the Steam Deck, but to my surprise, the game is playing just fine. It took me 2 restarts for it to actually start up. On the first boot, it was just a black screen, and second boot started up just fine. Now for Ubisoft games, you want to use Proton Experimental. It's the most consistent for me. Normally, if I use anything else, the client won't update, or it won't open up properly. It's just a mess. So yeah, Ubisoft games, use Experimental for the Proton version. You have the option of playing at 40 FPS or 30 FPS. It's really up to you what you want to go with. 60 FPS isn't really ideal for this kind of game. It's far too intensive on the CPU. 40 FPS with ease. I'm playing at the high settings as well. What is happening here? Hold on a second before I get out. I think I've got a rocket launcher, right? Which, oh my god, what happened to you? I'm so sorry, I feel so bad. What? Oh my god. Batman Arkham Knight. I've done 2 videos on this game already, I believe. So you guys should already know that it does run well on the Steam Deck. But for the fun of it, let's do it again. Okay, that was a instant fail already. Nice work by me. Now I'm running into a weird issue with my Steam Deck where some games just won't launch. Like I already knew that the game would run, but for some reason it just wouldn't start. But yeah, for Batman, the game plays fine. There's no stuttering, there's no lagging. There's not much more to add to this anymore. I've done 2 videos like I said before. And yeah, let's move on to our next game. Time for some Watch Dogs Legion. Again, another Ubisoft title, so you want to use Proton Experimental again. But other than that, the game will open up just fine and plays just fine as well. I've done a video on this game already as well. And the main issue is how intensive the game is. So I would use a 30 FPS cap and at a mix of medium and low settings. As you guys can see right now with the uncapped frame rate, the game is stuttering quite a bit as I'm driving through the city. It's very CPU intensive, so the Steam Deck starts to struggle a little bit. So that's why I would use a 30 FPS cap to avoid all the stuttering. Ooh. What is that? Is that a Lambo? Hey, self-driving car too. See, I'm stealing from a robot, an AI. This car is where it's at. Oh! Okay, immediately crashes it. Full speed ahead. Get out of my way, dude. Wait, was that a cop? Whoops. Okay, let's move on to our next game. Okay, and finally let's cover the games that you can't play and some that I had issues with. So the first ones are going to be COD. The newer games have a very strict anti-cheat and they just won't work on Linux. So if you want to play those, you want to install Windows and that will play as well. Same goes with Destiny 2 and Rainbow Six Siege as well. I got 2 of them for some reason. That is weird. The same thing goes for Rust as well. I think that's easy anti-cheat. And Battlefield 2042 as well. For Burnout Paradise, the game is playable, but you will need a custom save file to skip the intro. So it's a bit annoying, but it can be done. And finally, you have games like Half-Life Alyx, where it's a VR game. And that is not supported at all on the Steam Deck. And even if it was supported, it just wouldn't have enough power to play it anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The whole point of the video was to show how messy the Steam rating is for the Steam Deck. There are games that are verified, and they will end up being laggy or very stuttery. And then you have half these games that are unsupported, and they play just fine. They don't lag, they don't stutter, and they're very playable. So now if you're looking for a good source with good game ratings, I would use ProtonDB. It's going to have a list of all the Steam games available, and it's going to have a rating right next to it. Start with bronze, silver, gold, platinum. If your game has a gold rating or above, then it most likely means that the game's going to be playable the entire way through without many issues. If the game is silver or bronze, it's going to be kind of tough to get it going, and it will have major issues. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time for the next video. See you guys there.